Hey everybody, Dr. Heather here at Living Well.
Dr. Marley?
It's been a little while since we've come on Doc Talk, but today we have some million-dollar advice for you, and we're going to try to stream more lately. There's been a lot of changes coming in Cheyenne and Wyoming, and things that we're not okay with, we don't support, and we need more people like us who are willing and open to talk about it and break open some truth. So for me, the thing that has been really on my mind, and for those of you who are watching this that do not live in Cheyenne, Wyoming, I mean, you have to take what we're saying with a grain of salt, right? We study our hometown, we know Cheyenne, and we know Wyoming, and we know what's happening here, and that's where our knowledge and advice goes to, is the people of our great little city here. So if you're watching from Florida and you think that what we're saying makes no sense, we apologize, because we're not living where you guys live. So please
we just can't speak to that. We can only speak to what we know here.
Right. So this is for our local peeps here, our community. So the best advice that I can give you guys is everybody keeps saying, stop watching the news, turn the news off. That's fantastic, and I 100% agree with it. I think part of the reason we aren't stressed out is because we don't watch that stuff. I refuse to. I do not watch any of the newses, period. And that helps my sanity. But even more, I think we should take it one step further, because a lot of you guys love the news. You've grown up watching it. It's something that's in your routine. You like to be in the know. Okay, so I understand that. But what I will say is we need to find, as people and as parents, we need to stop listening to the doctors on CNN, the doctor on Fox News, the doctor on the Today Show, because that person's not your doctor, right? That person is bought, first of all, and paid to be there, right? Probably has a big chunk of money from pharmaceutical companies, and they don't know your story. So my best advice for you guys right now is to start listening to the person you trust. Who's your family doctor? Who's the person you see more than anyone? Who's the one that delivered your babies, right? Who's the doctor that you go to for any illness that you know, like, and trust? And who's that person that you know is following their exact same advice, right? So it's almost like this doctor treats you as part of his or her family. And the advice that they give you is the advice that they do at their home. That's who you need to be listening to, right? We're that doctor for hundreds of people, and we love being that doctor. We love modeling that. We love speaking into people with truth, confidence, and knowledge, right? You guys need to find that person for you, too. If it's us, awesome. If it's your OB, awesome. If it's your family physician, your pediatrician, I don't care who it is, your naturopath, your acupuncturist, your homeopath, who do you trust? Take their advice. Do not take the advice from some doctor on CNN that doesn't have your family's best interest at heart.
And just doesn't know your case, doesn't know your health, doesn't know what's going on in your community, and is just being very general with their recommendations. So yeah, find somebody that you know, like, and trust, and follow their recommendations. The other thing is we got to be asking better questions. So I encourage all of you, whenever we hear something like we're going to mandate masks for school or whatever, we need to be asking ourselves, why? What's the goal? Why are we doing this? Some of the recommendations just right now don't have any merit, not here in Wyoming and definitely not in Cheyenne. So if we look at our data on our public health site, which I encourage you to go check out, we know that we have 22 deaths over the past, 4 or 5 months that we've been tracking.
In the state.
Right, in the state.
In the state, not in Laramie County, in the state of Wyoming. In a pandemic, we've lost 22 individuals.
Yep, and when we look at the demographics, there's a very specific population that's affecting. So if we're going to create mandates or guidelines, it needs to be for those individuals. And by putting a mask on my kindergartner at school, it's not going to protect that individual. The only person that's going to protect that individual is that individual and their caretaker. So they need to be taking the precautions that are necessary if they're in that at-risk group, not my kiddo, okay? When we look at hospitalizations in the state of Wyoming, when I checked, it was this last weekend, so it could have changed, but we're dealing with 12 hospitalizations in the entire state. 2 here in Cheyenne, Wyoming. So we're freaking out about the cases, the rise in cases, but we're also testing more. The criteria has changed for whether it's a positive case or not. Excuse my dog, she's got an itch. So we need to not focus on the actual cases, but we need to focus on the hospitalizations and the deaths, because that's what really matters. And I encourage you guys to think of it this way. If we see a huge rise in the cases of this illness, but people are recovering fine, that's not something we need to panic about. That's something that we need to celebrate.
That's a win.
So that's one person, that's one more person that we get to pull out of the equation that's been exposed to this virus, developed an immune response, and now because they've developed that immunity, they aren't a favorable host for the virus anymore, and they aren't going to transmit it to somebody else. So it all comes back down to herd immunity, and we have to reach that herd immunity threshold if we want to get through this thing. We're not going to hide from this virus forever. We got to deal with it, and this virus is not going away, and wearing a mask isn't going to make it go away. The only way that we get through this whole crisis is to get through it. So
Right.
If you're not an at-risk individual, honestly, from the bottom of my heart, what I do and what I tell my patients, the ones that trust me, is we need to continue on with normal life. And that means not wearing a mask. That means not wearing gloves. And that means not over sanitizing, because it's truly wrecking our immune systems by wiping out our natural flora and literally breathing in our own waste products.
We have to think about that, you guys. It's the thing that nobody's talking about. People are pulling this whole wearing a mask isn't going to harm you and it might save lives, but truthfully, you guys, what we breathe out is a waste. It's a byproduct that our body is pushing out, okay? And if the mask is catching that all day long and we're breathing in our own waste, that is not beneficial to my health, okay? What's most important is that I myself I'm taking care of my own health. That way I'm not a burden to the healthcare system, right? That's the whole goal, is not to burden the healthcare system. So I need to be doing things in my life to strengthen my body so that if and when I come in contact with this puppy, my body's going to handle it better, right? So that I'm not a burden to the doctors, the nurses, and the system, all right? We need to take care of ourselves. And if masks are not supposed to be worn by healthy people, then these healthy people wearing masks all day long could ultimately be decreasing their health and then leading them into that at-risk population, all right? So that's something we need to absolutely remember. And we keep seeing all these governors making bold statements saying that if you're not wearing a mask, it proves you don't care about others. That is such a false statement. So it's really actually just degrading and rude, because they're saying follow the science. Well, we've read the science. We've read it. And until we can see science that absolutely that says 100%, you're not decreasing your health from wearing a mask, and you are absolutely stopping the spread of coronavirus by wearing the mask, we haven't seen it.
Or really what the question needs to be is, are we improving our health? Because we put so much focus on this virus, and I'm going to tell you guys, the virus isn't the problem. We're always going to have a virus. In 5 more years, there's going to be another novel virus that comes through. What we need to be focusing on is the host, and the real problem is 2/3 of our American population is sick. We have a sick, weak population, and that's not meant to be degrading. That's just fact. We have a lot of heart disease. We have a lot of cancer. We have a lot of diabetes. These are the at-risk groups. So what we need to be doing is we need to be asking better questions, and we need to be focusing on how we actually get people healthier, not how we try and defeat this virus. So if we have a stronger host, then the virus doesn't reach as much havoc on us. So I encourage you guys, if you are in an at-risk group right now, you've had the past 4 months to try and pull yourself out of that. And if you haven't, and you've been like 75% of the population who's actually gained weight through this process and drank more booze and done more other things that are destructive to our health, I encourage you, right now is the time to actually take your health into your own hands. It's time to pull yourself out of that at-risk group by changing your lifestyle.
Right.
So,
right.
And it comes back to, if you have a natural care provider that you know, like, and trust, follow their lead on this and try and get your health back.
Right.
That's the only way that we're going to get through this thing, is by creating a healthier population, not trying to kill the virus.
Right. And we also need to realize too, you guys, that these kids right now, the whole talk is, are kids going to go back to school, and what could happen if? But I'm going to challenge that, and I'm going to say, what happens if we don't? Right? So we keep asking the question, what's the worst case scenario if we open schools up with tier A, tier B, tier C, being no restrictions all the way down to crazy restrictions? My question is, what happens if we don't send these kids back to school with a normal day? Okay, what happens if these kids stay home all day, every day, with parents who are stressed out? Maybe parents can't stay home with these kids. We've got increased risk of all sorts of other issues coming on if we don't. So I think we need to look at both sides of the equation, because either way there's a trade-off. And you know, right now our kids aren't dying, and our kids also aren't spreading these diseases to people, and then those people are dying. That's what the science has showed so far. So if we keep kids home, healthy kids home, stick them on computers, tablets, social, digital learning all day, and they lose out on that social connection, that can have very far-reaching circumstances on their physical and emotional health. So I think we need to really ask those questions too.
Yeah, unfortunately, through this whole thing, the kids aren't the one that are being affected directly by the virus, but they're the ones that are going to feel the repercussions of our actions and how we've treated this virus as a society. Because here's the sad reality: anxiety, depression, mental disorders, they're going to go up. Suicide is already up. Who knows? Homicide's probably up. We're going to see a rise in heart disease, diabetes, cancer because of the way that we're living right now. So we have to ask ourselves, what is the trade-off? Right. So when we talk about getting through this illness, it starts with the kids. We got to go back to school. We got to get back to playing sports. And we got to start connecting with one another.
Right.
So, and we can't do that with the stinking mask on.
Yep. And we got to we can't have teachers afraid of kids, because right now my kid's at summer camp playing with friends, having teenagers be her, camp counselor. These teenagers are showing up like stinking rock stars. I haven't seen one of them afraid to be there. I haven't seen one of them asked to be called a hero because they showed up for summer camp getting paid $9 an hour or something like that to make my kid have an awesome summer. They're out there playing at the park. They're taking bus trips. They're going on small field trips. They are eating lunches together. I mean, if our schools want to look at something and see if it's working, they can look at, the City Latchkey summer program. So huge shout out to Latchkey right now, because they're being just absolutely phenomenal rock stars. They made the system work, and these kids are having a normal summer right now, as normal as can be. The kids are not required to wear masks. I mean, they're playing with each other, making new friends. Just a huge shout out to those teenagers that are there, to their parents for letting them come, and to the city department for keeping that open this summer. Right?
All right, I think we ranted enough. So if you have a comment, you have a question about everything going on, let us know. Obviously, we are proponents of natural health. I don't think that comes from a mask. However, if you are at risk and you want to wear a mask, you're entitled to that, and I'm not going to say anything about it.
Absolutely
I'm not going to scrutinize you. I'm not going to make fun of you.
No.
That is your choice, but it's also our choice not to wear a mask. We still do have that, hopefully, for a long time, have the freedom to make our own health decisions.
Yes, yeah. So everyone in the Cheyenne area, you're welcome in our clinic any way you come, right? We are not going to make you change to enter our place of our establishment, our business. We refuse to do that. You come as you are. You come what makes you feel comfortable, and we'll serve you to our best level. And we hope to become that doctor for you that you know, like, and trust, that you would follow our guidance and model our behaviors on. All right, you guys, have an awesome day.
See you guys.